Welcome everyone to the young talent Bodhana Sivanandan playing here with the white pieces against Irina Tetenkina. Bodhana, just 10 years of age, already rated 2205, is taking on Tetenkina, who's rated 2092. Bodhana in this tournament started off with a very strong win against Mariya Muzychuk. She then drew against Li Xiaoyi 2-2-1-1, lost to Alina Bivol, but then beat Drakaki Anna Maria, who was rated 1929. This is an important game for her, and always it's exciting to see this young talent in action because she's just 10 years of age. She's trying to achieve something which very few women players have done so, which is to kind of become one of the best in the world. And yeah, let's see her games. She opens the game with pawn to e4. And let's see what Tetenkina does. She goes g6. And generally these openings are very interesting because black is giving space to white to build the position the way she likes. And knight comes out to c3. You have bishop to g7. And will Bodhana go for the f4 move, which is aggressive? No, she goes bishop e3, which is also quite aggressive. So you want to play queen d2 and long castle often. Knight comes out to f6, putting pressure here. Maybe knight g4 somewhere. Queen d2 played. If knight g4, you have bishop g5. So knight bd7 played here by Tetenkina. And Bodhana is on the attack. She goes long castles. Pawn to c6. Black wants to play pawn to b5, b4, e5. Right into the heart of the position in the center. Now knight moves to g4 because if you took twice, you can't take here. The queen is hanging. So knight g4, and Bodhana now thinking for her move, takes and plays bishop to f4, attacking the d6 pawn. Tetenkina goes knight b6 and h3, pushing the knight away. The knight comes back to f6. And Bodhana brings her knight out to f3. Normal developing moves, h6 played. Maybe castles was better here. I'm not sure if she needed to play h6. Bishop comes out to d3. Black king is in the center, so need to be careful related to that. Tetenkina goes bishop e6. And now Bodhana brings her rook into the center, pinning here. Queen comes up to d7, but look at this. There is some bishop takes g6, takes rook e6, queen e6 and rook e1, winning material, but Bodhana does not spot it. She goes rook e2. Well, that was a small miss there by the youngster, who's usually very, very sharp with tactics. Maybe she saw it and decided against it. Now long castle, so black gets a bit of respite there. The king is safer. She doubles the rooks, now threatening bishop takes g6. As fg6 there would be rook takes e6, hanging. g5 played by Tetenkina here. Now just put the bishop back on h2, tucking it on this long diagonal. She goes bishop g3, which is also fine. And rook h e8. The position does resemble some kind of a Petrov defense, with just one file being open, and Bodhana goes a3. She's playing it patiently here, but bishop c4. I wonder if this exchange is better for white or for black. Yes, for white perhaps, gets more space. Bishop takes c4. Knight takes c4. And now queen to d3. Yes, she plays it. Queen to d3. And knight comes back to b6. In an ideal world, black would want to trade off one more piece, get the knight to d5. Knight comes to d2. Maybe knight e4 to put pressure on the d6 pawn. Rook takes rook, taken here on e2, and Bodhana takes back with the rook. So rook takes on e2, and now rook e8 played, trying to trade off the rooks as well. And knight e4, the pressure on the d6 pawn is growing. So knight takes knight. Knight takes knight. How do you defend this? You don't want to be pushing the pawn. A check coming in. So rook e6 makes sense. She finds it. And white should have some way of putting more pressure, but it's difficult. And Bodhana, what I like about her is that she's patient. She understands the limitations of her position and she's not rushing it, there. King d8, h4, and now f5 comes in, pushing the knight away. The knight jumps back to c3. And she takes on e2. Knight takes e2. And let's see how black continues. Queen comes to e6. One idea could be to enter in on a2. She takes on g5. But coming on a2 is quite dangerous. The king has space here. Also the f5 pawn is a bit weak. So hg, bishop drops back to f2. f4 played. Now this opens up the queen's path to get into h7 maybe. But first Bodhana goes b3. Just taking care of this ideas. Also limiting the knight here. Pawn to d5 played, which is a nice move because it puts and fixes the pawn on a dark square. So the bishop on f2 is a bit limited. King comes up to d2. And bishop to f8 played, attacking the pawn on a3. a4 pushed. And knight d7. She goes knight to g1. Very interesting move. She wants to play her knight to h3. You can see spectators coming in, trying to get a glimpse of this game. Bishop to d6 played by Tetenkina. Now the g5 pawn is a bit of a weakness. Bodhana has kind of zeroed on it. Bishop e7 to defend this pawn could be an idea. So g4, pawn to g4 played, knight g5, and the queen goes back to g8. And bishop h4 played, trying to go for some discovered attack here. Have to be careful, but g takes f3. That's bold play by Tetenkina. She's seeing that there's no huge discovery coming up. And now just king c8. Move the king away. She plays it. King to c8. Very good play by a player who's rated 2092. Queen f5. And now queen h8 could get a bit dangerous here. She finds that as well, because it attacks here and here. And bishop goes back to f2. Do you go queen h5 here? She plays queen f6, offering a trade of queens. And Bodhana takes it. She could have kept the queen with queen g4, keeping the pin here. But this also fine. Knight f6. It's around even. Here there is one issue in the position, which is the f4 pawn. This could potentially become weak after knight h3 and bishop g5, because it is on a dark square and Bodhana is going after it with knight h3. But for now black has defended it well, and it's very difficult for the white king to attack it. So king comes to d7. For now the position is even. I mean, how can Bodhana win here is not at all clear. She goes knight f2, maybe coming to d3 is her idea. And Irina goes knight to g7. We've seen Bodhana playing aggressive chess. We saw her actually beating Mariya Muzychuk with flashy play there and very aggressive play. But this game is totally different. In this game, her opponent is posing her with difficult questions, pawn to c3, and she has to make sure that she doesn't, um, blunder something. King e6 played. Knight comes to d3. Maybe some ideas of check and trading, but I don't know who the trade is actually beneficial for. King goes back to d7. Slight hesitation there by black. And bishop f6 played. She goes knight to h5, attacking the bishop. Do you want to trade the bishops here? It could be an idea. That's what Bodhana does. Bishop takes bishop. You don't want to be taking with the pawn, I believe, because then that pawn could become potentially weak. Like imagine I go b6, stopping knight c5, and then king e6. So maybe taking back with the bishop would be a good idea. She goes b6, b4, gaining more space. And now bishop takes e5. Knight takes on e5. King d6. Knight d3 played. If the knight comes back, goes king e6. And now king e2 played. So the king comes to f5. The knight jumps to e5 again. Now this is very dangerous because the c6 pawn is under pressure. She plays pawn to c5. Maybe there was no need to jump with the king. King d6 was better. But now c5, she goes into c6. Very nice move. Attacking the pawn on a7. cb played. And c takes b4. Now the a7 pawn is hanging. So suddenly black pieces are all stuck on the other side while white is trying to attack on the queen side. Tetenkina needs to be careful here. She goes a6. Bodhana moves in with the knight to attack the a6 pawn. And a5 played, which is a big mistake. But notice that takes knight c6 would be a mistake because that allows black to hold. It's the most natural way to play here. But the right move is knight d7, attacking the b6 pawn. I'm not sure if Bodhana will spot it, but the idea behind this is that you can let black take here and create an a passer. Finds it. Oof, what a move by Bodhana there. She spots it, knight d7. She can see the win. A takes b4. This youngster is not just good at tactics but also at endgame. a5, a6, a7. The pawn is running. She goes knight g3 check. Suddenly, it's all over. King d3. Brings the king on a good square. King to d3. No more checks here. Knight jumps to e4, but that doesn't seem like a good idea. You could very well take knight takes d5, but you could also pick up the knight. And then black will have two passers, but I guess white should be able to hold that one. And she takes on d5. Simple chess by Bodhana. Now fe4 is a threat. Knight takes b4 is a threat. She comes back, but all of a sudden now you are 2 pawns down. Knight takes b4. The game ended with king e6, d5 check, king e5, a5, knight b7, a6, and king c4. Her opponent resigned. What a win for the youngster.